Hello everyone, welcome. You see, IBPS PO is just around the corner. So the tentative dates are out, and in another 2 months we will have the prelims of the exam, and another 1.5 months from there we'll have the mains of the IBPS PO. So in this limited time frame, what we need to do, how do we ensure that our preparation does not waste time and gives us the maximum benefit, should be our number one priority now, isn't it? Right. So that's what we are going to do today in today's session. I am going to help you to take the important parts of preparation to give you an idea about what to focus on depending upon whichever level of preparation you are. Okay. So this is the main agenda of today. Obviously, though our main target of discussion of today's session would be IBPS PO exams, but this is as relevant for any bank PO exam or a similar kind of exam where you will have 2 to 3 months left, right? So that's the overall agenda today. Now, how would we do it? So we will discuss the 3 main reasons why students fail to qualify in the IBPS PO exam, and more so from the perspective when the time is limited as it is now today. So how do we use this time in a way that it gives us maximum benefit is our number one priority that we already discussed. But what are the things that we should look in it is something that we need to know, and what best way to know about them rather than the reason of failure of students. So if we know the reason why students fail and we know what we should do to ensure that that does not happen to us, then we would have made a much better plan and we would have made a much better effort towards our preparation. Right. So let's start with the 3 major reasons why students fail in this kind of exam. Right. So the 3 things that can lead to failure are weak concepts, lack of practice, and incapability to score in mocks. So these are the 3 reasons why students fail in the exam. Now, what do we do for that? So let's take them one by one. The first issue is concepts are weak. So what do you need to do for that? First of all, if you are referring to a video course or if you are referring to videos for learning concepts, then watch lectures once at the max, twice at this stage, not more than that. Right. For example, let's say you are enrolled in our Meritshine course. So then you should just watch our lecture once, understand it thoroughly. While going through the lecture for the first time only, the concepts, make some amount of notes so that it helps you to revise, right? And if there are areas which you could not understand in the first go, watch them twice, right? At this stage, now that you have watched the lectures, so what do? You move on and do the concept builder questions, right? Now, normally when we have our classes, after that, after every concept class, relevant concept class, there are relevant concept builder questions, right? Therefore, I stated concept builder question. They can be in any name in your test series or in your book, right? So you can practice from there. But the idea here is understand the idea. You see, you have 2 sets of exam, pre and main. So what is my main idea? So in pre, the difficulty level is different, and in mains the difficulty level is different. Yes, the concepts that are required to do questions remains the same, the basic concepts, but the application level increases in mains. Yes or no? Right. Let me come on the screen for this. So your application level increases in mains. So the difficulty level of the questions in mains are more than what we get in pre. Right. So normally what I do in my sessions is that I teach students to identify the difficulty levels as we progress further, and they know after some period of time that normally level 1, level 2 kind of questions come in pre, and level 2 and level 3 kind of questions comes in mains. They are not watertight compartment, but normally that is a general rule. So, when you also study, if you are studying by yourself, if you are studying with me, then you already know how to do these stuff. But if you are studying by yourself, then what you need to do is that you need to identify those pre kind of questions and practice them more when you are building your concepts, right? Okay, so you practice them more because you need to have a hang of the concepts, and also the pre-exam is earlier than the mains. Right. So, the mains level practice obviously you can have after the pre-exams too, though you might not need to wait as long if you are prepared. I will talk about that, but if you are a starter, then focus on these level of questions. Okay. People who have been taking these exams and their concepts are well built, what they need to do, I would talk about that in a moment, but those who are starters, they should focus their energies in level 1 and level 2 questions, not more than that. Okay, and these questions need to be done alongside the lectures that you do, so that you are applying those concepts that you learned in the lecture immediately on questions, and you are able to do questions on them, because only knowing the theory would not matter if you are not able to apply them to questions, right? The third thing where students fail, they start expecting a lot from them in very short time, right? So they expect regular improvement. There is regular improvement, my dear friend, but don't expect them to show overnight. The visible difference in your improvement would only be visible after some amount of time. For some, it would be 20-25 days. For some, it would be 1.5 months or a little more. But it takes its own time depending upon student to student. Now, why do you need to remember this in your mind so that this does not lead to your failure? What did I say? These are the reasons of failure, na? But because concepts are weak, people do not fail. People fail, why? Because when their concepts are weak, they end up doing things the wrong way in a limited period of time, and therefore they fail, right? So, when we talk about don't expect regular improvements, that also means that you will not try to find out shortcuts for doing questions, mindless shortcuts rather, right? If there is a shortcut based out of logic and concept, okay, go ahead with it. But I have seen students wasting their precious time in collecting mindless shortcuts and notes. Don't do that. First of all, in quant English reasoning, notes prepared by other people do not help you a single bit. First of all, let me clear this. Yes, people might hate me for this, but this is true. As an educator for the last 17-18 years, I know this for true, while training lakhs and lakhs of students, that if you are collecting notes of other people for quant English reasoning, for areas which requires your logical, analytical abilities, application of your concepts to solve questions, then those notes are useless, of no use. It's not general awareness that note collection would help you, right? So don't do that. Secondly, don't collect mindless shortcuts कि इस particular question को इस तरह से कर लेते हैं, उस particular question को इस तरह से कर लेते हैं, as if it is not quant or reasoning, as if it is one long paper of general awareness. It is not. Let general awareness be limited to the general awareness section. Don't use the techniques of general awareness in quant English reasoning. Preparation of quant English reasoning is very simple. It is not easy but simple. And what is it? You understand the concepts once and then you practice, then you apply, then you fail while you practice, while you apply, then you go to the solution, understand where you went wrong, and then again you practice, and then you become master at it. That is the key for every topic on quant English reasoning. In a nutshell, obviously, in every topic there would be changes in the way you would do it, and that we explain in detail in when we take the sessions of individual subjects, right? But this is the main way. So that's why I said it is simple. It is not easy to do. Why did I say it is not easy to do? Because it requires discipline. Because here you will have to be at it in an organized, disciplined way for at least 1.5 months to give you visible differences, as I told you. Now, students' patience, they lose their patience, and then they do what? They either start collecting notes thinking that those notes are productive, they are doing something productive that would help them, or they start collecting mindless shortcuts thinking that okay, इस particular question का तो shortcut मिल गया, ऐसा आ गया तो कर देंगे. But the point is that वैसा कभी आता नहीं है. There are changes in the question that they come, and when they could not identify because their concepts are weak, they do not end up answering that question even if they know that shortcut. That's why I said logical shortcuts based on your concepts are okay, but not mindless shortcuts. If you don't know how that shortcut has come, don't apply it, right? So this is something that happens when your concepts are weak. You will have to make yourself avoid doing these stuff. Now the next thing that you should start expecting is you would forget stuff. But that doesn't mean you'll need to go back again and again to one concept, to that video, to that particular chapter again and again. So this is a very common phenomenon that when you study for, let's say, 4 or 5 concepts over a period of 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks when a similar kind of question relating to those 4 or 5 concepts come, and you are then at a separate concept. Let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say you are have done inequality, you have done coding decoding, and you have done let's say syllogism in the first 2 weeks, and in the 3rd and 4th week you are learning puzzle solving. Now in the 4th week you get something of inequality and you are not able to recall the concept, or you are not able to apply in the concept into the question and solve it, right? Okay, so first expect that this is going to happen, this is natural to happen, no worries about it. The next 2 steps that I would tell you would help you solve this problem. So it happens with everyone, it is not only happening with you. That's the way our human mind learns. We focus on one thing and then learn it, and at that point if someone gives us another thing, we might not be able to do that at that point. Later on we might be able to do it, but at that point we might not be able to do it. So it's nothing to panic, there is nothing to panic in it. Secondly, if you remember just now, what did I tell you? That focus on application, concept building, and your ability to do question, identify the question level and do question. So if you do that, then the chances of this happening, the first thing happening, goes down. Why? Because now it is not a memory game for you. You do not need to recall which concept it was. You just need to solve the problem. Till the time it is a game of memory for you and you'll have to stuff everything in your mind, then this problem increases manyfold. But when it is an issue of application, then you would see that this problem would still come, but the incidence of this problem would reduce a lot. Okay, right? So expect that you would forget things. Don't worry. In the next 2 steps, I'm going to tell you what would help you get over that. Okay. So the next issue was what? Lack of practice. We have talked about a little bit about practice when we talked about how you should actually do quant English reasoning, but now we would talk about it in a little more detail. How to practice. Along with concepts, some amount of practice needs to happen that I have already told you. Now we have less time. Okay, so after that what we should do? From time to time, make time for topic tests, right? To refresh and revise your concepts. So how do you refresh or revise your concepts? By going through your notes or lectures again and again? No, by practicing questions. By practicing questions. That is the main way of revision at this point at least. Alright. Now, you may tell me ki sir, we are done with concepts because we have been preparing for a long time. So then what should we do? Say for you this part has happened. So you need to directly do this part or start from here, and you should also then look forward to start taking sectional tests if your majority of your concepts are done. And if you are a starter now, then within 1 month your target should be to be a level where 50 to 70% depending upon your speed, 50 to 70% of the concepts are done. So if this is the place from where you can start your topic and sectional tests. Obviously you will have to take a test series for that, right? And so, but the idea is here very simple. So after majority of your concepts are over, then start taking sectional test. And in the sectional test, you remember in the last issue I talked about level wise question practice. Now if you are studying with me or Abhishek sir, as we move ahead, we slowly increase the levels and tell you how to identify levels of a question, right? So you would automatically know how to identify level questions if you are following us sincerely. But if you are studying by yourself, what you need to do? You need to analyze the sectional test and identify the difficulty level of the question by yourself. First of all, if the test series gives you level wise difficulty, then it is okay. Take up level 1, level 2 and practice only them. And inside those level 1, level 2 also analyze which kind of questions you got wrong and which kind of questions you got right, whether more difficult, whether less difficult, right? That identification needs to happen because that's going to help us a lot in our next task, which is test taking. Because that is the third and one of the most important areas where students falter: mock scores. We prepare, we practice, but we end up not scoring in mocks. And if that happens, what do we need to do? And let us understand first why it happens, and secondly, if that happens, what needs to be done. This is the third issue, right? The third reason why students fail is translating your knowledge and your practice, your application skills to hard scores. So first, why does it happen? It can happen due to many reasons, right? Let me come on the screen for that. You see, first let's understand why this happens. Now this can happen for multiple reasons. You might be panicked inside the exam. Whenever you take a mock test or a test, you get very tensed and stuffed up and end up not answering the questions to the fullest of your capability. Or maybe you are planning the paper in the wrong way. You are taking the difficult questions first and easy questions later, and thereby you are not able to score your maximum. Or you might be in a position where you are not able to manage the time that is there, or you might be in a position where you are not able to handle all the 3 sections together, right? So there can be multiple reasons. So if you want to understand what is the reason why you are not able to score in mocks, then you can go through our lectures on this channel on mock analysis, or you can go to our program, and there you would see our mock analysis lectures are there, and you can go through those mock analysis lectures, right? Now when you go through them, you will have an identification that why you as a person are not able to score in that particular test, and from that you would be able to find out the solution. But the point now here is that what do we do for that, right? Whatever is happening, how do I identify is one part of it, right? And if there is another way of identifying it, secondly, and after identification, what do we do with that, right? So that is what I am going to talk about now in this particular area. So first of all, for mocks, you need to start at the right time. Now what is the right time? If you are a person who have taken these exams earlier and you are prepared, you are just taking your sectional test, you are in that category now, that you have done once the whole concepts and you are practicing them, applying them, you're just looking at those parts of the lecture for extra revision, right? If that is your area, then you can start the mock of IBPS PO prelims immediately. I'm talking about the mocks of prelims, right? Okay. Obviously, if you are in this category where your preparation is done once and you are again doing it just to ensure that you give your best, then you can take once a week or once in 2 weeks, even mains mock too, because you are building upon your skill sets, na, right? But at least twice prelim mocks needs to be taken apart from whatever you are doing, right? So 2 in 1 week prelim mocks at least, and 1 in 2 weeks if you are already prepared. Now, if you are not, then when should you start? If you have just started your preparation, your concepts are not done, then what did I tell you? Within 1 month, you should target 50 to 70% of the concepts should be done, right? This is the time when you would start your topic tests would go on alongside your classes also, but mainly sectional tests, right? So, 1 month from now, sectional test, 7 to 10 days only sectional test, and then start off with the mocks. So, around 1 month, 35 to 40 days from now onwards, let's say, if you have started just now, 35 to 40 days from now onwards, you should start taking mocks, and your frequency of mock should be 3 a week. Prelim mocks, no mains mock for you, right? 3 a week. Okay. Now, but don't be a compulsive mock taker. Every day you are taking mock, don't do that. Why should you not do that? Because you see, you need to analyze the mocks that you are taking and get the benefit out of each mock so that your next mock is better than your last mock. Do not treat mock as extra practice. No, they are not. Mocks are practice of test taking. Mocks are not practice of question solving. Practice of question solving we discussed in the last slide. Here we are talking about practice for test taking, and that is much different, because there what parameters did we talk about? We talked about section management, we talked about time management, we talked about question selection. These are the reason why people fail to score in mock and ultimately test. These we talked about, right? So these are the reason of failures we talked about. So these are the things that we need to learn from mocks, not how to do questions. That would automatically happen when you go through the solution of the questions of the mock, right? But that's not the main purpose. So you'll have to analyze them properly. So without analysis, mocks make no sense. So don't be a compulsive mock taker, be an efficient mock taker. So you need to learn time management, question selection at this stage, and the difficulty level identification that you did in the last last activity, sectional test, topic test, that's going to help you a lot. Why? Because how do you select your question? You select your question based out of difficulty level of question and your strength in that particular area. Using those two data, using these two parameters, you select those questions. So those questions on which you are more confident and you score more and the difficulty level is less, you do first. Then the next difficulty level question and next level of confidence, right? This way you would move ahead. So this is the way in which you are supposed to orient your preparation. So now let me summarize this for you. So what are the 3 major problems? The 3 major problems are: 1, the concepts are weak; 2, lack of adequate practice; 3, mocks not being taken in the right way, right? Or inability to score in mocks, because mocks are not taken in the right way. So these are the 3 major reasons of failure of students in IBPS PO, SBI PO and similar exams, right? Now, in a time span of 2 to 3 months, what we need to do? For pre, what we need to do? For mains, what we need to do? Now, for mains, what we need to do, that I would have a separate session altogether. We will talk about that later. But because we are looking just ahead of the curve at the prelims of these exams, we should be ready for the prelims without any doubt, right? So how do we do that? If you have just started, first I will summarize for that person what he or she needs to do. So if you have just started, what you need to do is that in the next 30 to 35 days, you should be done with 50 to 70% of the concepts, right? And simultaneously at the end of those 4-5 weeks, you should start on the sectional test. Sectional test may go on, but another 1 week or 10 days, you should start with the mock test. 3 mocks with complete analysis, right? Acha, parallelly, after 30 days, those concepts are also being done which you have not done. 50 to 70% ke baad bhi to you are left with around 30 to 50% of the concepts. Those needs to be done. Now you would ask me, ki, sir, when I have not done the whole syllabus, how can I take the mocks, right? It is not right to take the mocks, na? Yes, I agree with you. But tell me, my dear friend, if the time of the prelims have been fixed, would they allow you some extra days to prepare if you are not prepared or if your concepts are not done? They would not, na? Right? So, for having practice of test taking, you should at least give 3 to 4 weeks. And that is only possible when you start at least at the time when I have told you to start. Because starting later on what would happen is that you will not be able to hone your test taking skills. You might be able to do all the concepts relevant for the prelim stuff within 50 days. But then another 10 days you would be going for exam, you will not be able to hone your test taking skills. So your test taking and your last bits of concepts would go parallelly. Clear? Why am I suggesting so? Right? So this is what a starter should do. What a person who is already prepared on the concepts once and are in their revision stages, what they should do? They should immediately start with the sectional test if they haven't, right? And start focusing more on the difficulty levels and identification of the difficulty levels. Within the next 10-15 days or even now, they can also start taking 2 mocks a week with complete analysis. Now, once you are doing these 2 stuff, sectional test and mock test, and in some part topic test revision. Now when you are doing, why are you doing topic test? Because you took a sectional test or a mock test and you saw these 4 areas you are weak. And because you in these 4 areas we are weak, that means that you will have to revise these concepts. How do you revise these concepts? From the lectures and from the notes, right? And then by doing some more topic based questions. This is the way you would schedule your day, right? Okay. If you are in, and as you move ahead, after 1 month, the number of mocks would increase and the revision time would decrease because you are already done with the revision then. Okay. So this was for those people who have already done their concepts once, the people who are repeating for these exams for them. Now, if you are in between, you will have to mix and match both and then do it, right? So this is the way you should move ahead and ensure these do not become the reason for your failure, because these are the 3 major reasons of failure of students. So if now you know that this, you will have to ensure that you do not do this. You do not fall into the trap of these 3 mistakes. Okay, right? So that would be all for today. Thank you very much and all the best.